Wenda, you've been talking to a lot of CMOs over the last several years. This year, obviously, is almost over, but most of the planning, or much of the planning, has already been done for next year. So what mistakes did CMOs make this year, and what mistakes are they sort of on track to make next year that they should really stop and think about and not make those mistakes?
Yeah. Boy, I hate to say CMOs made any mistake. I mean, the CMO position is such an embattled one, but I think that most business executives, whether they're CMOs or others, I think that this was such an extraordinary time for all of us in business to go through this past year, and it's only been a year. It feels like a lot longer. I think the just sort of this freeze frame that we went into. Should we do anything? And I think what happened in the world economic crisis. I think a lot of people went into paralysis mode, not knowing what to do. I think when we saw sort of the landscape a little bit better. I think there's always this tendency, these marketing and advertising expenses often drop, right to the bottom line. The notion that, well, maybe if I just sort of exit, brand building this year, I'll be okay. And, any marketer, we've all seen the studies about what happens, brand erosion when we don't continue to support the brand. I think stopping building is probably the biggest mistake that marketers make, and it's so understandable because you can't see it. It's not hugely measurable on a quarterly basis, on an annual basis. It really is an overtime proposition, and there's tremendous pressure to measure absolutely everything this quarter. So I think those marketers who didn't hold their ground and talk about investing in the brand, I mean, that's probably the most troublesome and challenging area for CMOs. But so I'd say that's one area. The other area, and there's such different schools of thought on this, CMOs who said, you know what, this is just such a write-off year. Let's really understand what's going on out there. Let's invest in some of these new opportunities. Let's experiment and let's see, what we can learn. And then, there were others who said, wow, this is the time not to spend a dime on anything that we don't know absolutely works, and we don't know, what our return is on that. Regardless again of whether the return was, a brand metric or a direct metric. And you really had two very distinct schools of thought. So mistakes, I don't know. I think they're really just different points of view. But what I would say is do something. Don't do nothing.
Right. Well, we certainly saw that kind of a bifurcation among our clients. Half of them made 2009 a year of opportunity, where they doubled budgets.
Yes.
And the other half slashed budgets to half or less than where they were before. So it is clearly two schools of thought, or two camps, and some of it may have been driven by the health of the company and free cash flow and other mitigating factors, and some of it may have actually been more of a corporate culture thing.
Right.
But it'll be fascinating to see how 2010 unfolds, how those marketers that took one of the directions last year will, whether they'll continue on the same course or change course.
That's right, yeah. Yeah, we saw the same thing.